The Digi-Egg of Courage, a look into the brave soul of both the Digimon and its partner. Today, I want to dive back into my most popular video and take a shot at giving every single adventure kid a custom armor evolution based off of the Digi-Egg of Courage. Now, I'm not made of money or anything, so I'll be the one drawing everything, so don't roast me too hard. But before we hit that intro, please remember to sub so you too can become a DigiGoon just like me. Hey guys, DigiGoon Anthony here, and the first pair getting a custom armor Evo will be Tai and Agumon. Previously, I said for Agumon's armor Evo with the Egg of Courage, he would turn into Flamedramon. I did so because of the focus on fire and the obvious connection between Agumon and Vmon. But now that this evolution will be custom, I've had a few ideas. Courage, in of itself, is something that everyone has deep within inside of them, but Agumon and Tai are already connected to that. Now, what if they were able to bestow their courage onto others? And I don't mean mentally. How about physically? My idea for this evolution comes from the god of the forge, Hephaestus. Typically tied to fire, Hephaestus would forge items as the godly blacksmith. Now, what if Agumon could forge physical manifestations of courage through his courage armor evolution? With that idea, I think we have a pretty solid concept for our courage armor evolution for Agumon. I think with that, Agumon would digivolve to Forge Flaremon, the design being inspired by depictions of Hephaestus and famous blacksmiths such as John Henry. Now, I'm no artist, so excuse me for tracing some bits here and there. I needed to get my point across with these drawings. But for Forge Flaremon's design, I wanted to focus on a strong upper body that can swing a hammer with ease. The other hand is in the shape of the Egg of Courage, and it can spew fire hot enough to melt Digizoid. Using his own supply of Digizoid and minerals all around, Forge Flaremon uses his hammer and molten egg to handcraft armaments for his friends and partner. I can see him being a tanky, defensive fighter who supplies people with armor on the battlefield. I'd say his signature move would be something called the White Hot Forge Flare, where he spews fire from his hand at an insane rate and finishes off the opponent with a fiery swing of his hammer. But yeah, for Agumon, I think this fits, and it especially fits Tai. Being a feisty kid himself with tons of courage, I can see him wanting to be the defender while still holding a strong walloping power. Before we move on, let me know your thoughts in the comments on each of these custom armor evolutions. Okay, next up we got Matt and Gabumon. For this one, I like the idea I had with Lynxmon. A fiery cat is pretty cool, but then I realized, is Gabumon even a cat? To me, he's more of a fox-dog thing when he evolves to Garurumon. With my time researching, I decided to look up famous foxes in myth, and came upon a bunch of different myths relating to foxes, such as the Kitsune and the Kumiho from Korea. But those didn't draw my eye. Instead, I decided to look towards folklore and stories from old. From there, I looked at stories about the Knights of the Round Table, people like King Arthur and Lancelot. Now those are great examples of courage, but I wanted for this evolution to be a different form of courage, as courage can come from all types of things. So for my inspiration for this evolution, I decided to look towards Merlin, the mystical mage and part of the Round Table. Merlin found courage in himself due to his expansive knowledge of the arcane arts. So from there, I managed to create this custom courage armor evolution for Gabumon, Magumon. Magumon is a wizard-like Digimon with strong magical powers, especially fire magic. Their mastery of the element is unmatched, and with their courageous spirit, their spells will never falter. I was inspired by Were Garurumon's design as an up-close fighter, but I thought, what if he was a bit more wise-looking? So from there, I looked through depictions of Merlin, and I found a nice go-between of both elegance, power, and style. I used the top half of the robe to be where the so-called armor part of the design would be, making it look like the Digi-Egg of Courage, and the rest was me just kind of messing around. Attack-wise, I think with Magumon's mastery over flames, he would be able to manipulate fire, making shapes and creations out of it. So for his signature attack, I think Magumon would summon fire from their hands and create a massive dragon made of fire behind them, and send it towards the enemy where it erupts in a great blaze of fire. This attack would be called the Merlin Bomber. Up next, for getting a custom evolution, will be Sora and Beomon. There's a few problems with Beomon and Sora already for this. Their evolution is already all about fire. Bertramon is literally on fire. So my main idea when creating this evolution for Beomon is the absence of fire, but the courage to go near it, as fire is very scary and has the potential to burn. I took inspiration from a few things when considering this evolution, those things being the story of Icarus and the Jack Be Nimble nursery rhyme. Each of those involves avoiding fire at all costs, whether by not flying close to it or just jumping over it. These stories led me to create Beomon's Courage Armor evolution, Icarusmon. As for its design, I wanted to give it a very kid-like look, as both Icarus and Jack are children in their stories. Icarusmon has very small wings as well, they can only really glide with them. Using the candlestick at their side, which is named Jack by the way, they can blow fire at their enemies. To tie this back into the theme of courage, I would say that both Sora and Beomon have to find the courage to run through a wall of fire. And even though they get burned like Icarus, it allows Sora to Digimental up and let Beomon Digivolve into Icarusmon. As I mentioned before, I think their attacks would involve using Jack the Candlestick and Icarusmon's wings. Some type of flaming wing attack seems suitable for them, where Jack the Candlestick breathes fire and Icarusmon infuses it into their wings, giving them full fiery wings. They would then dash through the enemy like the move from Pokemon Brave Bird. I think a suitable name for this would be the Scorching Strike. Next on our list is Mimi and Palmon. For giving a courage line to Palmon, I wanted to make them a completely different kind of plant, one that shows off bravery. A perfect fit for their evolution would be a daffodil. Daffodils are known to bloom in spring. They are able to resist cold weather and snow. These stubborn and brave flowers stand up to the harsh effects of the weather and bloom even in the toughest of conditions. So for Palmon's Courage Armor Evo, I think they would turn into Daffodilmon. I know, I'm pretty creative. This evolution would occur when Mimi and Palmon would be traveling through some type of tundra, and Palmon, although basically frozen, has to keep fighting enemy after enemy, but they feel warm, and all of a sudden, the armor evolution would occur. Palmon would bloom into their new form, becoming Daffodilmon. Okay, let's get to talking about this design now. I took lots of inspiration from Sunflowermon for this, but made it feel more dexterous with its smaller form and slimmer body shape. Along with this, Daffodilmon is equipped with a large staff with a mirror on top of it. The mirror is a reference to the daffodil's scientific name, Narcissus, the actual Narcissus being a beautiful person in Greek myth who would worship themselves in a mirror, until one day they were turned into the actual flower. This mirror staff allows Daffodilmon to not only have extended reach while fighting, but those who are caught in its gaze have the potential to be turned into a flower. I know that fire is a big motif when it comes to the Courage Armor Evos, but can a personality count as that as well? I think Daffodilmon could be a complete hothead, always getting in the scraps with other Digimon, saying that they are the most beautiful, and whatever else. And then when they need to devastate them in a fight, they can pull out their mirror staff and use their signature move, Mirror Mirror on the Staff. Man, I'm hitting it out of the park with these. As I said, this move will turn the enemy into a small little daffodil, in which Daffodilmon will then stomp on them. Next up, we got Izzy and Tentomon. Now, I absolutely hate bugs. Like, hate bugs. They're just way too creepy crawly for me. But for Izzy, I had some ideas for what Tentomon could turn into with the Courage Armor evolution. There are a few bugs that piqued my interest when looking up what could possibly work for Tentomon's Evo. And I came to the conclusion that the Bombardier Beetle works perfectly as inspiration. These beetles have a defensive mechanism where they shoot out a blast from their abdomen. This inspired me greatly. Along with the character from My Hero Aoyama, both the beetle and the naval laser were somewhat similar in my mind, so I came up with Bombflamon. To activate this new evolution, I believe that maybe Izzy and Tentomon get captured, and Izzy just kinda accepts it and says that their friends will eventually get here. Tentomon would not accept this, and say that they need to fight and meet them halfway. That's when the armor evolution would occur, and Bombflamon would appear. They would burst through their restraints with a blast from their flaming abdomen and free Izzy, and from there they would escape. Appearance-wise, I wanted to make Bombflamon be a mix between Aoyama and a Kamen Rider, the belt abdomen being where he shoots his flames from, and the Digi-Egg of Courage of course being a big design motif throughout. He has sharp arm blades that he can use as well to fight. And his signature attack would be the Beetle Bomb Blast, and it would shoot a fireball out of the belt that would explode on contact. The blast is of course in the shape of a beetle. Next up we have Joe and Gomon. Now I wasn't really sure where to go with Joe and Gomon. Joe is never courageous and only finds courage when him and Gomon start to really become friends. Maybe when that happens they also awaken to this form with the Digi-Egg of Courage. There aren't any marine animals that can shoot like fire, so instead I went a little crazy. I think that little tuft of hair on Gomon's head will fully encompass his body. This new form would be called Fleecemon. This would act as a protective barrier that fully encompasses the small body in the middle of the fluff. I took direct inspiration from Chopper's guard point, as I thought it would make sense for Fleecemon to have a resemblance to it. Fleecemon would be able to protect everyone with the excess of fluff and hair. He would be able to manipulate the hair and grab people and move them into this giant mound of hair that he calls a body now. I think the signature attack for Fleecemon would be called Furious Fur. When Fleecemon does this, the hair along the outside would turn into fists and begin a straight up stand barrage on the enemy with its rapid punches. And now finally, we have the last two characters, TK and Kari, and their partner Digimon, Patamon and Gatomon. I'm putting them together as I want them to represent a kind of duality with this evolution, TK being the sun and Kari being the moon. I took inspiration from Sol and Mani, Norse gods of the sun and moon. They drive the sun and moon, just like TK and Kari are driving forces for the group. These forms would be achieved when the crew, who is all spent, must rely on TK and Kari to defend them. This would cause their partners to digivolve into their new forms, the Digi-Egg of Courage. Patamon would become Solsticemon, and Gatomon would become Eclipsemon, both harnessing the powers of fire. Solsticemon having a powerful red and Eclipsemon having blue flames. These two would parallel each other, having smaller designs akin to the designs of Charcadet, Armarouge, and even Ceruledge, all new Pokemon from Scarlet and Violet. Their power would come from their courage, and it would be represented by how much their bodies glow. Their signature attacks would be the Solstice Slash, in which Solsticemon would slash through the opponent with a beam of fire, and the Eclipse Laser, in which Eclipsemon shoots two blue beams of fire through their eyes at the enemy. I think that'll about do it. Please let me know your thoughts on these custom armor evolutions. It's my first time doing something like this, and I think after all these drawings, I might have improved a little bit, to be honest. Probably not. But anyways, as always, don't forget to like, comment, and sub. It really keeps me motivated to keep on making these videos for you all. I hope you enjoyed this custom art video, and I hope to make more soon. I'll see you all next time. Goons out.